Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. A delight to have 3 videos out today. A hotel room, I got spare time. Let's go into this video. VeChain VET on the exchange. Again, about 8 months or so ago I last did a video. It has seen good progression, like many assets, the last couple of weeks. We're going to the chart shortly. Let's have a quick reminder of VeChain in general, why I'm excited personally, just from general career experience of seeing this kind of technology and the problems that this particular sector or industry has, and how VeChain is potentially one of the big leaders really to help with this. So guys, before we go into that, don't forget to look at the other videos on the channel. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you have been following us for some time. Either way, if you have not done so already, please do smash that subscribe button, and you make sure you don't miss any of the future videos that we have available coming our way. Guys, VeChain. First and foremost, I had the privilege of interviewing Sunny earlier this year with some time at Paris Blockchain Week, hoping to see the VeChain team and many of the others again back in April, coming up to the Paris Blockchain 2025. Really fantastic event. If you haven't got tickets, let me know. I'll try and get a discount code or something for you guys. Keep an eye out for that. I'll leave it in the main community area when I've eventually got one. And sharing is caring, right? But yes, that was back when they had just launched the beta, or the beta token part of VeChain, really kind of coinciding with this aspect of sustainability, which is a big topic, of course, globally and the environmental world and in general, really, of where blockchain is very much adhering itself to, but also the fact that it is such a big narrative. And VeChain does as well pride itself on some really interesting technological aspects. Some would argue that many other chains kind of already do this or do this as well. You know, the advantages and disadvantages. At the end of the day, there's never going to be one winner. And the supply chain world, by the way, is gigantic. There are thousands of supply chain companies. They're not all going to use the same one. Of course, there may be an overarching winner, to an extent, but you're going to need a lot of different protocols and different platforms to work. It's no different in any other industry or sector. So I don't understand why some people get so tribal about these things. You know, I'm picking out VeChain in the sense that I've been holding it since 2019 or 2020. It's not the only reason, but I think it's a really good advanced company. Great leadership from the likes of Sunny and their team. And there's a multitude of video channels out there that you can watch various reasonings behind why VeChain is so important. We've done intro videos before. Go and check those out. My main point really for this time around is just emphasizing that factor of the supply chain mechanism. We talked just a minute ago about how big that is, and how many companies you need to facilitate that. Bear in mind, like the supply chain management, I mean, we've done videos on that. It's multi-trillion dollars worth. And in fact, I think some of the latest statistics that I was kind of looking at when we were kind of suggesting, well, blockchain, the transparency aspect can obviously really help, with the ability to track and trace products, produce, services. It can potentially eliminate the likes of counterfeiting, fraudulent produce, etc. I mean, this can spread, guys, across luxury goods. It can spread through food safety or food content. How many times we've been lied about the likes of food and everything, of course, but there's so many things here. And because now we've got so many devices integrated, we talk about this in IOTA videos and things like that. The principle of devices, fridge freezers, or ordering things on the phone, there's so many things now, and everything and anything can have an identification tag. through this process. Real-time data sharing, where it is location-wise around the world, GPS aspects, make sure you're not being fobbed off with crazy career prices, all of these things. But what's really interesting for me, the market value of tampered or counterfeit goods is absolutely staggering. I don't know when the statistic was that I looked at the other day, but it's very recent. I would say probably 2023 was one of the latest statistical charts I was looking at. $1.8 trillion annually. And I would say the big players in that of counterfeiting, pharmaceuticals, luxury goods, consumer electronics, things like that. That's it. $1.8 trillion of counterfeiting goods. The market value of that tampered aspect. Now, when you throw that in there and you think about things like tax evasion or customs evasion, how much money is being taken out of the economy, this is when governments and things really start waking up. When it's no different to like a general person on the street when you say you can save 30% if you do this, or switch your energy bill, you'll save this. And people go, well, as soon as they see a monetary value, it becomes very different. I was at a very interesting crime event a few months ago, and it's slightly on topic / off topic. But we're talking about bike thefts and how many there are in the UK specifically, where we are. And then the numbers are there, so it was like whatever it was. I was just plucking a number out of my head. It would say 20,000 bikes a year. I think it was more than that anyway. But when I was like, okay, the monetary value of that is staggering. And there was an average of like, say, a bike's average of, I don't know, whatever, a few £100, right? But then when you looked at the economic impact of the crime aspect, the cost that it is to police this and reporting, blah, 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 the numbers were in the millions, if not billions. And that's what we should be going to our governments and politicians with, to say, you're not listening to the problem. You're not listening to the statistical number of the issue. Will you listen when we mention how much money this is costing you? And this is where I think the aspect of the supply chain mechanism, which is very heavily orientated into blockchain at the moment. When I attended, I think it must have been last November, the TFDI event with Andre Casterman, a great man in the space, and the facilitation of blockchain in the supply chain and trade finance in general is incredible. Again, trillions upon trillions of dollar market value there. But what was evident really was that principle that supply chain was a huge part of that. And I think when you open that up and you see the strategic alignments now, you see the development of platforms, the infrastructure is being put into place in these companies. Well, as I said, there's thousands of them. So there's not going to be one winner in blockchain facilitating the whole thing. It's almost impossible. Maybe in 30, 50 years' time when you have a monopolization of the market, who knows? But the economic impact is there. Even safety. It's really interesting, actually. I didn't really think about this till I was sort of looking at some articles earlier. Talk about consumer safety. Fake medication, pharmaceuticals, fake cosmetics. Not just from illnesses, but potential deaths. Take the wrong medicine or the wrong substances within what you perceive to be the correct medication. There's a lot of labs out there. There's a lot of farms, for a better word. You don't know what you're getting most of these days. That's why, FDA approval thing, whether you trust them or not is another thing. I don't. But the principle is that you're going to get something relatively safe, still questionable but safe, compared to something that could come from anywhere and has just been exploited financially. So you think again that market value could be huge, because then how much money is being lost in that pharmaceutical industry in general and to the economy. And then, as I mentioned as well about crime and security, that covers so many aspects of supply chain and organized crime and things like this. So when we pull in the aspect of VeChain, it has massive traction in this area. That tamper-proof verification is a really important tool to consider. So for me, VeChain, it's always been a bit under the radar for me personally. I remember when I was very slow to VeChain at the beginning because Coinbase didn't have it, and I got infuriated. I was like, oh, everything's on Coinbase. I moved everything off it. I went to Binance, I think it was, because they had launched VeChain and a few others that I was after for ages, like Cardano, etc. But it's these principles that have still stuck with me. VeChain has evolved as a company over the last few years. It's changed, it's adapted to some messaging and things like that, and that's part of the parcel of startups or early stages in a new market, in a new environment. VeChain is no different. So I think when we look at that, the positives of what they're capable of, the partnerships, the strategic alignments that they have, the abilities that it has as a technology, and particularly as well with that Chinese link. Bear in mind, China, I think, still at this moment in time, might be slightly different, is a huge exporter and importer. Certainly more so an exporter around the world. Air, train, ship, you name it. Produce, manufacturing, components, whatever. And more than ever before, we've needed this kind of traceability, this transparency. So you as an end user can now pretty much buy something, and eventually, whether it have a QR code attached to it or whatever the formality is, the technology of blockchain is in the background of that product and service to tell you anything and everything you need to know. You might even be able to make conscious decisions about food produce that you buy because you now know the exact ingredients in there, or where exactly it has been made, or what has been damaged or killed to be able to create this chocolate bar or whatever. So in my opinion, the answer really is looking at the problem, but then more interestingly is the monetary value of that problem. And that's the answer of companies like VeChain are providing as a solution to plug that gap. So as an investor, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not interested in the tribal aspect of this token's better than this token. I'm more interested in what is this company doing? How is it tokenized? How is it utilizing its token? And then you get a better answer. You get a better opinion in your mind as to why you should be following certain projects. So again, it's not for everyone, but for me, VeChain is very interesting for sure. And I think it will continue to drive really well in these coming months and years. Certainly in the next 10, 20 years in supply chain management will be phenomenal, especially as well with AI integration on top of that. So on these topics, guys, let's just jump into the VeChain chart really quickly before I wrap the video up. So currently trading around about 5.5 cents as of recording. That was really good progression here since the recent low points back here at 1.9 cents on the 9th of November. So we've had a good 180% increase. That is confirmed on the right hand side here. So on the month 164, 3 months 150. The year and the year to date a bit sluggish still, but there's plenty of room for maneuvers. Even at this moment in time, the RSIs are still respectable, 80 and 75 on the 14 and 28 day RSI indexes on the bottom left here, respectively. So there's a bit more of a squeeze that could occur for sure in this short term period. The next tracking points for me, I'm not going to be selling any of my VeChain. I was always buying my VeChain back in 2020 and even to these moments recently at around 2 cents. And I never sold at 30, which is a bit depressing. So I'm going to be taking profits along the way this time round for sure. Now I've got a bit of a bigger holding as well. But I'm more interested actually at my first protocol, and everyone's entering and exiting at different times. For me personally, and it's in general, I think, for everyone to have an interest in these areas. Look at the long term and the shorter term fib levels here. This is where I'm going to start getting a bit more excited about VeChain. It's around about the 7 cent mark to 8 cent mark. In fact, on the longer terms, we'll just pull out here to this blue area. You can see there's two areas of interest. So for me, I'm going to be doing some selling points, maybe just around like 8.7 cents and maybe on slightly above the 10 cent mark, around about 12 cents, hitting these markers. If we can stabilize ourselves up here rather than down here, I'd start to get a bit more interested and excited about VeChain from a selling perspective. For now, I'm just going to be buying dips as I normally do. I still think anything under 10 cents of VeChain in the long run is a phenomenal steal. But we obviously want to get the lowest points possible to accumulate as many VeChain tokens as possible with little capital involvement, or as little as we can. So once we start hitting those areas, it starts to get interesting, because if we can stabilize, we can start looking at macro levels within the middle of each of these areas. So you can see here there's loads of stage points, 15, 17. It's, you know, it's pretty easy to say, well, we can hit those within a couple of days, of course. But in the longer periods of time, looking at that sort of 14 cents, 20 cent marks, by the time we hit the 20 cents mark, we're not that far off the previous all-time high, which was around 27, 28 cents. So if we can get that acceleration quickly in December, get ourselves a good foundation for December into 2025, we might see a repeat of this. I think we'll have more adoption in the sense that it's available on more exchanges than it was back in 2021. We've now got on-ramping features like Apple Pay, PayPal abilities. It will open up a huge market. If it starts flying, and those percentage numbers, even going back to the point I made earlier about, you know, giving governments actual monetary values, let's think of this as percentage aspects in the FOMO market. If we're starting to see this number in the month going up to sort of 300, 500%, it will turn heads more so than it is already in the last few days. And that's when people jump in. And as already a holder or someone that's speculating at this moment in time roughly to invest for the long term or the mid term, short term, whatever it is, you can anticipate this ahead of time. It's really interesting, the psychological battles that go on in the crypto markets. But that's my target at the moment. You could potentially see opportunities for dips, maybe some re-stabilizations around this sort of 4.4 cent mark. In the grand scheme of things, that 1 cent residual difference could not be too huge, depending on how much you're accumulating and how long you're holding for, short term, long term. It really does vary, of course, but we'll keep an eye on VeChain, guys. It's an interesting topic, project, technology. I think the chart's starting to wake up on VeChain, so that's why I'm doing this video, because I think there's some things to think about here for sure. If I just pull the cross here, I just want to see an extra confirmation here. So yeah, we might stabilize around that 5.2 cent mark, but that next one up to 6 cents and then 7. So really interesting, guys. We'll keep an eye on this. I'll do some YouTube shorts if anything drastic happens in the next 48 hours on VeChain. Keep an eye on it, guys, and go and check those intro videos if you're new to VeChain. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next VET update video. Take care. Bye bye.